Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Sam's033 here, and welcome to the show about Pokemon TCG stuff mix-up. And today we have our last video in the black and white on format, which is a video about the Zekrom Eelektrik Bouffalant deck. I almost played at Nationals, but decided not to. It is actually a pretty good deck. As I said, I was testing for Nationals. I was almost going to play it, and then I changed to Darkrai at the last minute. So it is, you know, a good deck. Don't worry about that. I should also mention that you meant a few weeks ago I announced the 5-day gamer stream. Well, that's happening right now, from August 1st to August 7th. Go watch that right now. It's awesome. Plenty of great games there. Let's players. It's just awesome. I would be having more fun, but Twitch is being stupid and not letting me chat for some reason. Yeah. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get on to the Pokemon video. Yeah. Pokemon. Wait, what's Pokemon again?
The process for building this deck was a little odd, and one I explained in my last Back to Reality. For Nationals, I was considering playing Rails, until I realized the Plasma and Darkrai matchups were very poor. You know why? Because of two very annoying Pokemon that were introduced in Plasma Freeze, Absol and Kyurem. Rails' main power lies in the fact that it can trade prizes with EXs very well. Even if you go down 2 or 3 prizes, you can easily come back. But with these two non-EX Pokemon that can one-shot your EXs, trading prizes with this deck becomes infinitely harder. This wouldn't be such a problem if there was some kind of easy counter for the two of them. But there really isn't. Capturing around them doesn't work, because you're already going to be behind on prizes. So if you try and trade EX knockouts with them, you end up losing. So I tried to make an entirely new deck. This deck needed to be able to one-shot Kyurem and Absol by extension with a non-EX Pokemon, and be able to one-shot EXs as well. Well, since there's no non-EXs that can do 130, I needed to add 10 damage somehow. Between Deoxys Plasma Badge and Hypnotoxic Laser, I chose Hypnotoxic Laser. The Pokemon of choice are Zekrom and Eelektrik. These two go way back, all the way back to spring of 2012, but have really split apart since then. Eelektrik has moved on to Rayquaza, and Zekrom has been destined to die alone. Obviously, a Volt Strike along with the Hypnotoxic Laser can do 130 damage, enough to one-shot Kyurem. And with the Burbank City Gym in play, Volt Strike can take out a Blastoise or Klinklang. But we still need something to take out EXs. Conveniently, Zekrom EX with a Burbank and Laser can do 180 damage. It may seem a little less consistent than Rails, but it can get the job done, just as effectively. But both of these guys are kind of gimmicky. Zekrom is used for all of 2 Pokemon, and Zekrom EX is a little inconsistent to carry you through the whole game. So let's add another old partner of Eelektrik, Bouffalant. Bouffalant is just an incredibly solid attacker against EXs, and can be powered up without Eelektrik if needed. Its main weakness is Deoxys EX and Darkrai with the Laser, but even then, it's an even prize trade for you. Some of you may have heard of this deck before, and that's because it actually won the Netherlands Nationals, in Masters no less. I actually started testing this deck before it won the event, and I was all scared that the deck would spread word fast, that my secret deck would be the new hot topic. But no one really thought much of the deck, and I was all good. Her deck list was posted to the deck out, and was actually my inspiration for putting Bouffalant in the deck. I bet a lot of you are expecting this to be another one of my duds, but this deck is far from a dud. In fact, I would even argue that this is a solid play for Worlds. Want to find out why? Well, keep watching and you'll find out. No need to be so impatient. Anyway, I think it's about time we take a look at the list for the deck. It may seem a little too similar to the Nationals winning deck list, but this is just where I got after a lot of testing. I guess it's just a case of great minds think alike. The nice thing about this deck is you only need 2 Eelektриks in play, as opposed to Rails, where you constantly need 3 of them out. With double colorless energy, everything only needs 3 energy maximum, so 3 Eelektриks is plenty. I've tried it with 4, and they just get stuck in your hand a lot of the time. You need to get those Kyurems and Absols out of play before you drop Zekrom EX, which is why I have 3 Zekrom. It's really the only attacker in the deck you need to stream a lot of. Only 2 Bouffalant because it's a lot more situational than you'd think. Zekrom is still pretty good against the X's. Bouffalant is not good in the slightest against non-EXs. Zekrom EX only comes out in the late game, and he's a bad starter, so I only included one of him. As I've said in the past, Keldeo Floatstone is good in electric decks, It's not quite as OP in this variant as it is in Rails, but it's still almost necessary. It helps against laser, catcher stalling, it gives you a free retreater, it helps you use strong bolt repeatedly. It's just so good. Too bad there's not enough space for a 2-4 line of it, but the 3-1 works well enough. Mr. Mime is self-explanatory at this point. I think the Ultra Ball and Level Ball split is as good as it can get. Since you have to stream Zekroms and Bouffalons, having 3 Ultra Balls to search for them is very good. Some of you may remember my vendetta towards Ultra Ball, mostly based on how dead of a card it is 50% of the time and how much it drains your resources, which is why there's only 3 as opposed to 4. 2 Super Rod is a little questionable. With less of a reliance on Eelektrik in this deck, seems like you wouldn't need to. Well, if you run 1 and that gets discarded by Juniper or Ultra Ball, or you discarded some resources earlier that you had to Super Rod away, which means you can't Super Rod your stuff that gets knocked out, or if it's prized, yeah, you get the picture. I also don't run Dowsing Machine, which is another reason for 2 of them. For a while I only had 1 Verbank, and before that I had 0. Darkrai and Plasma usually put down their own Verbanks, and Kyurem dies to Bolt Strike Laser anyway, so why would you even need one? Well, if they don't put one down, Zekrom EX is totally useless, since 160 doesn't do anything. They can still function without it in play, and after they see lasers, they could just not play it. They also may just not draw into it before you need it. 2 Verbank also makes Blastoise and Clang Clang matchups a lot easier. But them not playing down Verbank only happened after my opponent had played against the deck a few times. So in a tournament where no one has played against the deck, that might not be a problem. If you're not worried about Blastoise, then I could see going down to 1. Computer Search is probably not the aspect most people would choose for this deck. Even I play Dowsing Machine in my Rails deck. Well, there's a few reasons I chose Computer Search over Dowsing Machine. First, energy is one of the things you have to draw every turn with this deck, and Dowsing Machine can't get you energy, and Energy Search doesn't really fit in this deck. Dowsing Machine also can't get you Zekrom or Bouffalon, the other thing you have to constantly stream, without grabbing Ultra Ball and discarding 4 cards from your hand. There's also the age-old problem of having Dowsing Machine in your opening hand. Dowsing isn't horrible in this deck, since stuff like Super Rod and Verbank can be cut down when you include Dowsing Machine, and you can get back Catcher and Laser, which this deck relies heavily on. There's definitely some room to tech out this deck, and here are some of your options. A second Keldeo. Obviously this helps a lot against Gothitelle or Selgor, since your 1 Keldeo can get captured out and locked there forever. Registeel EX. This one may seem a little stupid, but hear me out on this. A lot of magic numbers of this deck add up to 150. Zekrom or Bouffalon with Verbank and Laser, or Zekrom EX without Laser add up to 150. And if your opponent decides to keep those Pokemon permanently benched, Registeel can pick off multiple of them in 1 attack. Switch can help you get your Keldeo out of the active if it gets sleeved by Laser. Personally, I'd rather just add another Keldeo, but the Nationals winning list played Switch, so it must be at least half decent. And actually, that's about it. Wow, I thought there would be more when I wrote that section. Oh well. On to the matchups, and oh boy, you may be surprised at how favorable a lot of them are. The Plasma matchup is about even. You're going to be behind a few prizes before they set up. But if everything goes well, they'll never pull off a Blizzard Burn. If you can kill all their Kyurems and any Absols that may be in there, keep them from getting a lot of free prizes, and start your stream of Strong Bolts early enough, you should be able to win this one. Darkrai is a slightly favorable matchup for you. They're usually slower than Plasma is, so you're not going to have to worry about giving up as many free prizes. But Darkrai is good at streaming Absols, and if you fill your bench and they're able to carry your Keldeo, they may be able to squeak by a win on this one. But if you can keep your bench under 5, knock out all their Absols, and keep Mr. Mime out there to stop Darkrai from wrecking your Eels, this one is pretty easily winnable. Blastoise is quite a bit in your favor. It's pretty easy to one-shot Blastoise with Zekrom Laser Verbank, and when you take out a Blastoise or 2, well, you have barely any EXs to get one-shotted by Black Kyurem EX. There's not much they can do. And once they're out of Blastoise, Zekrom EX can clean up for you. As for Gothitelle Selgor, with the list I have right here, it's not going to end well for you. With only 1 Keldeo, all they have to do is capture it, deck and cover, and you've pretty much just lost. With 2 Keldeo, however, things will change. If you can get both out in a timely fashion, as well as your Zekrom EX, you should have this one. You can easily retreat your Keldeo with double Colorless or Dynamotors, and then you can one-shot their Gothitelle with Strong Bolt. But if you can't get Zekrom EX out, if you use the Laser, Outrage, or Thunder Wave on their Gothita before it evolves into a Gothitelle, a Bolt Strike will also knock it out. A Switch might also come in handy in this matchup. It allows you to get out of paralysis if you only have one Kelly out there and they don't have Gothitelle left. Overall, the matchup isn't great, but it can very easily be teched for. Kling decks are another easy matchup. You can knock out their Kling in one hit, and once you've killed all of them, Zekrom EX will make sure they never get energies out again. Just make sure to discard the DCE with Strongbolt, or they'll use Righteous Edge to get rid of it. And even if you aren't able to KO all of their Kling, Zekrom and Bouffalant can still keep up with Cobalion EX, as long as they whip a couple max potions. Gobert Landorus is a horrid matchup. This deck can't really fit Tool Scrapper, and everything's weak to fighting, so you pretty much just lose to one Landorus and one Garbodor. Outrage might be able to take out one Landorus, but that lightning resistance says otherwise. And even if they never get Garbodor out, Zekrom EX can't KO the Landorus because of that pesky lightning resistance. I haven't tested its Garbodor Darkrai matchup, but I'd guess it's also pretty bad. Darkrai and Absol are both annoying to this deck, and without energy acceleration, they'll make sure you'll never get more than 1 or 2 energies out at a time. So overall, this deck's matchups are pretty solid. Its best matchups are Blastoise and Gothitelle, if you tech for it. And after Gothitelle won Nationals and Masters, Gothitelle has become the new most feared deck in the format, and with Gothitelle's strong presence, Blastoise is likely to rise in popularity. And even if they don't show up, all you have to worry about is Plasma, and maybe a few Darkrai decks. Plasma is a bit of a bumpy matchup, but if you polish the deck a little more, I wouldn't be surprised if a good player could make Plasma a favorable matchup as opposed to an even one. Even though I didn't play this at Nationals, I think it's a better play for Worlds than it was there. If I was indeed going to Worlds, this is probably what I would play. Definitely test it out a bit if you're going to Worlds.
And that's all we got for today. It's a decently length episode actually. Usually they're either too short or too long, so 10 minutes is pretty good. Yeah, that's the deck. As I said, not a bad play for Worlds. Definitely start testing it if you're going there. But, you know, depending on the format, it could easily just do terrible. But it's Worlds, so everything can do terrible there. So, yeah. Starting next episode, we will be talking about... Well, next episode will be my review of the Plasma Blast set. And I think I'm actually going to do something a little special for that episode. You guys have to wait to see that. After that, will be completely next Destiny's On format talk. No more on Black White On format. There'll definitely be a deck analysis on Frisian Genesect, on Back to Reality. Might also be some other popular archetypes featured there. There's definitely going to be some mix-up decks. There's no shortage of decks I want to test for mix-up. Don't worry about that. Definitely still doing those. Exciting decks like this one. New interesting decks that, you know, no one else is going to playtest. I got a couple in mind already, so stay tuned for that. Other than that, I think that's about it. World starts in a couple weeks. Yeah, actually like a week from today or something like that. The Top Cut will be streaming the matches for the World Championship, so if you want to see all that live, go to twitch.tv/thetopcut to see all the Swiss rounds. And I think the Top Cut too, and then also but the finals I assume are going to be filmed by Pokemon themselves. So yeah, look out for those. Worlds I'm super excited for. I hope it's not just Plasma that wins. I hope it's something more exciting. Gothitelle would also be a little boring, but you know, something interesting. That'd be nice. So anyway, I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.